Hi, recently I've gotten into finding older electronics and fixing them up, selling them online. I came across this LG Super Multi, looks like that. VCR has been serviced by me. I've picked up a few tricks of the trade in cleaning the VCR side. I can typically get them working. Usually when you clean them up, there's not an issue with them. Most are just dirty, unless something's actually broken inside, but most that I've found and flipped online have just been dirty. To clean them out and they're all fine. However, this DVD side here does have an issue, and I will show you that in a moment. To crack one of these open, you've got some screws on the side as well as the back. So I'll just take those apart now. Put a piece of tape over the AC to tell myself not to plug it in because there are some things disconnected inside. After I diagnosed the issue, I kind of just left things unplugged as I search for some replacement parts here. Okay, let's get the last screw off here. Just lift up and off and slide out. Got the mechanism here. This is the CD drive, and that's what is the issue. See if I can just use these. Yeah, that screwdriver will work just fine. Going to be accessing this screwdriver. Got a little magnet dish on the side here that I'm putting everything in so that I don't lose the screws. Suppose I'll leave these two in, because really what needs to happen to get this out is the face needs to come off here. You've got these little tabs here, here, and here that need just to be lifted up slightly, and you pull it off. You need to be gentle with it so you don't snap the tabs off. There's also tabs on the side here, and those are normally what's actually binding up when you try to remove this. So try that. Get this tab on the side there. There we go. Slide this off the table so I can just kind of pull it off easier. There's tabs on the underside as well that need to come undone, and it's easier just to kind of slide it off the table a little bit before you slide this all the way out. Here we go. Yeah, that one was catching. There we go. Just comes off. These are the tabs on the bottom side I'm talking about here. One there, one there. All right. A few more screws to pull for this DVD drive here. This is the output to the HDMI. I've had that unplugged already. Just lift this up and out. It does have a number of these plugs. These flat cables are going to be connected, as well as this cable. These are already unplugged, so I didn't have any of them plugged in, but you need gently kind of wiggle these out before you pull this drive off. Otherwise you might yank something out a little bit too much, with too much force. Okay, these two small screws. I do have a small screwdriver around here somewhere. It's good to have a variety of sizes for your screwdrivers, because a lot of this stuff doesn't just run on Phillips number 2. Some of them are, what is this, is a 0. And put these little screws off to the side. Definitely remember to put them back. I've reassembled some things sometimes and realized I didn't have the smallest screws together. probably gonna be a sticker here, like a warranty sticker maybe, but this thing's definitely out of warranty, so it doesn't really matter there. So what we're looking for here is the motor underneath. There's these little tabs on the side here, so we're gonna gently pull up while pushing the tab in. Same on this side, gently pull up. You need to be definitely careful with this. You don't want to unplug this cable here I'm touching. It goes to the laser eye. There could be an electrostatic discharge issue if it's unplugged without the terminals being shorted. So say try to not unplug those. I've had this unplugged. This is the DVD motor that opens, or the drive open and closes it. But what we're looking for today is this right here, and I need to get a new tool to get that out. This is a little kit from iFixit, and I've found that it's quite handy to access screws like this. So I believe it's this little hex key here. We're gonna just scoot this off to the side a little bit. There's also a the DVD, the sled motor that's there, so I've unplugged that already. And again, trying to keep that large cable plugged in while you're doing all this. If you haven't removed this already, you should take note of where it is in relation to the actual lens, which I can show you in a minute, but I've removed this already and I didn't take note of the height relation between the disc drive motor and the lens, so we're gonna have to kind of guess and check there. But this is the issue here, this piece. If I take that out, you want to be careful. There are springs underneath here that I guess help retain the correct height and maybe isolate it from bouncing around. So there are springs here and here that you don't want to drop and lose. I'll set that off to the side for a second. This is what had failed. So if we take a look at this, I pull this off. This right here, I thought that had been gummed up originally when I took a look at it. But really what had happened is this plating came off the magnet. I think this whole thing's just a magnet. The plating came off and then it started digging in to this casing here. So the issue was that this did not want to spin, was unwilling to spin. When I had the device disconnected and I tried to spin a DVD, you'd see it kick a little bit, but it wouldn't spin. If I pushed the DVD with my hand and spun it, it would spin the DVD up and play just fine. So I ordered this off of eBay from a German company, Used Electronics. Their name I'll show you in a minute. Electromine. It was on eBay, but I think they have a website as well. But Electromine on eBay. That's what I ordered from. I took a bit of a gamble because they had multiple motors that were LG Innotek 6-pin. That was kind of the requirements for this replacement part. And then this is kind of hard to see because I tried using some oil and some cleaner originally, so it kind of rubbed off. But this is MSDH W020A, and that company had a number of motors that were 6-pin, but it was W012A. And they also had unnamed motors that looked identical, but they didn't have the part number listed. So I took a shot. It was cheaper, and it turned out that this is the exact same part number as the other one. So that's good. And if we take this apart and take a look at it, look at that. That looks great. The plating's still intact. This looks good. I'm going to grab, and it does spin quite easily compared to the other one. I'm going to grab some grease, maybe some assembly lube to just keep this bearing happy and try to avoid the damage that happened with this one. I'm going to try to find some lube somewhere. So take this apart here. think what I can try to do here is just use some 3-in-1 oil lightly with a Q-tip. Just kind of lightly saturate it with a Q-tip. We're just going to add a little bit of oil here. Maybe like 1 drop on the inside of this, just to keep things happy. Oh, that's stuck to the bottom. There we go, it's a magnet. Maybe try to lube this up a little bit. There we go. I think that'll keep it happy. If you look at that, the way this one spins compared to the old broken one, just instantly stops. You can hear the scraping too. So we're gonna try to put this all back together and then do our best guess for how the motor height, I guess the assembly in relation to the motor height here. Just gently pop that back into place. Hoping it's not super critical. I'll likely purchase a DVD RAM, DVD-RW discs and see if I can burn a copy of something. But see, I have another LG unit over there that I think the lens is just fried. I could get a CD to play, I couldn't get a DVD to play, so I opened that one up. It had a similar layout here. This one I believe is just cranked all the way down. So we're just going to tighten that one all the way down, and then these two here seems to be maybe like there. Just trying to eyeball what I saw when I opened up the other unit. There's a little bit of a gap between this plate and the plastic here. There's a small gap. When I saw that, I'd say maybe it's like a millimeter or 2. So you're just trying to get the sled to be flat and have a good height relation. That looks pretty good. Maybe this one needs to go down a little bit more. Okay, we'll plug all these back in. It might be easier if I try to plug these in while actually looking at it. Let's plug back in. I should probably try to get this one first because that one's gonna be the most difficult to reach. So this one in the back here, the other one goes to the sled. Here, let's put that on top so I can have something to rest against. It's easier said than done when you're trying to do it through a camera. I'm gonna try to do it without looking at it. Alright, I think that one's back in. This one's still seated firmly even though I was yanking on it. This one needs to go back in. This controls opening and closing the disk drive. So we're going to pop that back in, push down to get these retaining arms snapped back in. It seems like that's all well. You definitely want to avoid touching the laser eye when you're opening this thing up. The laser eye is on the other side. There's this little edge here that you gotta push in and get it underneath. This metal has to go underneath this little tab. I might leave the 2 screws out for now just so I can verify if this is gonna work. I'll have to pull it out anyway if it doesn't work. So I'm trying to pop these all back in and try to get down here and see what we're doing. Of course, now I'm doing it on the camera, it's not going well. I had this thing apart a number of times. There we go. That's in. This one's in. That one's in. Lay that down. And the HDMI output needs to go there. What I might try to do is just lift this case and we'll take a look at the motor in relation to this. It does look fairly flat. We can witness the CD spinning up. If everything goes well. I have this. I stole from another DVD drive that was just old and not worth it. So this is a clamp. So when the DVD comes in, it sits on this spindle here, but without any downward force, the spindle's just going to spin and the DVD is going to kind of stay there, and from the inertia, and the DVD won't be able to spin up. So what happens is when the disc comes in, the sled lifts the disc up a little bit and forces it against a magnet clamp. So if you imagine this is here, it clamps it together. So you need a spare clamp if you're going to be testing this with the lid off. We'll test a good disc. Baby Genius's 3 movies. Something I picked up at a garage sale, just something I got for free. So I can test. I know it's a good disc. It's brand new and I don't have to question if it has any issues there. I know if it doesn't read, then it's not the disc issue. And if it does get destroyed, I'm not all that beaten up about it. Okay, I've got the cables hooked back up. I have a TV just off screen here. Even though I don't know if the copyright owners of this disc are going to be trolling YouTube for copyright, but we are going to just keep it off screen. Turn this on. I still have the face off, so I need to see it's powering up. Looks like it did try to start. Let's see, no disc. There we go. Try to put that on. Oh, hold up. Don't look at the laser when you're doing this. Don't look at that light. But we will see if it reads. Oh, it's reading it. Hold on. We've got a picture on the screen. So that seems to be a successful repair. But as far as right now, it seems to be working fine. I'll play through this movie and go to the end of the disc. That's the main concern, is that the lineup has to be good enough that the disc is going to clamp. So I'll definitely have to test it with this back on to see if the sled comes up high enough. The spindle motor is able to reach this clamp here with this on. But, and then once the laser gets to the end of its travel here, if the orientation of the disc is, let's say the distance is still small enough that it can read the edge of the disc here. Okay, something I'm noticing is that there's this slight ring here, and so it seems like the disc is scraping something, because this was a brand new disc. I tried with a different movie. It has some damage elsewhere, but it also have some light scraping here and there, so maybe the motor needs to be raised up just a little bit more, and I think we're going to go ahead and do that and try this again. Okay, as I stated prior, this was going to be trial and error, since I did not note where the spindle height was prior to doing all this. So what I'm going to try to do here, right? Because we're just adjusting these two, this one there and this one right there. And then for these, I'm actually going to mark them where I had and I knew it worked. Although it was scraping the disc ever so slightly. I'm gonna mark down where I know it works. And then we'll do some small turns here and there. So I'm gonna try a half a turn there and let's try 3/4 turn. Let's just do a 3/4 turn on both maybe. That looks pretty close on either side here. Reassemble, put it back in. We'll put the lid on and make sure that everything works with the lid on and not just me putting a clamp on it, because the height does matter when it's trying to reach up and clamp against the actual clamp for the motor. I've got another disc, similar kind of baby disc. So when I'm doing device testing or repair, I have something called an isolation transformer that this is plugged into. Basically, it decouples the neutral and ground so that if I touch something, I'm not a source back to ground. If you're shorting something between the hot and the neutral, yeah, you're still going to get shocked. But since I'm standing on the ground, if I touch hot, I shouldn't be shocked because that isolation transformer is removing the coupling that happens between neutral and ground back at the service box. All right, this, we're gonna see, really what we're looking for is a circle being cut into this. So this does not have any type of circle currently have anything cut into it. Try that. Let's see if we're able to read. We're still able to read. That's good. I might hear some light scraping happening, but it was able to read the disc, so that's good. We'll tell it to spin down and give me the disc back. And I do not see any scraping. That's a good sign. There was a circle on some of the discs here, so I think we've fixed the issue. So, seems like that has fixed the issue. Again, I still need to probably use the DVD RAM and DVD RW to actually see if it'll write. I know the distance here is okay for the lens reading. I don't know if it'll write, but if you find yourself with an issue like this, where the motor is just completely garbled, definitely check out eBay. Check out Electromine. They had exactly what I needed. It was a 6-pin LG Inotech. Looked just like this in the pictures. Didn't list the model number, but 6-pin spindle disc motor. That's all you really need. So yeah, thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe. I might be releasing videos every once in a while, repairing and cleaning things. And let me know if you've ever had a failure like this. Normally these motors are pretty good. They're not just a generic DC motor. These are kind of made to be more resilient, but it seems like that plating just didn't have good adhesion there and failed and took this out. Something I wanted to add, another small trick of the trade here. When you're reinstalling these screws that are, let's see if we can focus into this, maybe not. These screws that have plastic cutting threads, what you want to do, you put it in, rotate it backwards, counterclockwise, and you should feel it pop in and you should hear it click. That is the screw finding the original threads that it cut. If you are going to be taking something apart, putting it back together, doing it over and over again, it's better to find the original threads that are cut into the plastic. And it should feel easier when the screw goes back into. It shouldn't feel like you're recutting threads. It should feel significantly easier. It's just a way to prolong the plastic. You're not cutting multiple threads into it. You're just using the same ones over and over again. So that's something that can help when you're doing little repairs like this. Sometimes you get a false set and you can kind of feel that easily. There we go, that one was better.